Jesse, es un honor. Gracias por esta oportunidad. Desde Colombia, Latinoamérica, expresamos tu admiración con todo tu cine y bueno, felicidades por Hellcat Not Beauty. Es, para nosotros es una gran expectativa poder visualizarla y bueno, yo comienzo preguntándole sobre, yo sé que tú siempre has explicado la evolución de tus personajes, de todos tus personajes en las películas y me gustaría saber qué es lo que más destacas de estos roles en esta tu nueva película, desde tu primer película hasta esta que es la actual, la que tanto todos hemos esperado.
Yes, it's really an honor for us to have you here. We really admire your career, and of course, we got high hopes with Hellcat of Fury. And the first question from John is: we know that I don't know how can you define the evolution for your characters, going back to your first roles, your first movies, and now with this movie. How can you tell us about the evolution of the characters? I don't know what we can expect from the actors and actresses.
The evolution of my characters. Firstly, I would like to say thank you, and it's also an honor to be here with you guys, and I really, really am very pleased to be chatting to you. I don't know about the evolution of my characters. They've probably become more rounded as I've become a better director. But I think when I started out, I wanted to make them as rich as possible. For me, it's always about characters, less about stories, less about plot, all of this stuff. If the characters are interesting, that's what appeals to me about a movie. And that's what gets me. There's an old Hollywood saying, it's not actors who win awards, it's characters who win awards, It's the characters that the actors play. And for me, it's always been about the most interesting characters possible. And when I get a script, the first thing I do is I delve into it and find out as much as I can about those characters. I write little pages of notes on each character. And when I hire my actors, I say to them, do you want my notes or do you want to do your own notes? I don't mind. You can have mine or you can do your own. But I need for you to know what the backstory is to your characters. So, and I've always done that pretty much since I started out. So I don't know if that answers the evolution part, but it certainly answers the.
It's great, and I will translate to my friends to know about the notes. That's an amazing data. John y César, respuesta de oro. Porque al principio, pues, Jesse dijo, no sé si hablar de la evolución de los caracteres, pero hablar de que para él lo más importante en las películas son los caracteres. Por encima de la trama, y creo que lo hemos visto obviamente en sus películas.
Me encanta.
Dice que este es el dato oro para continuar con la pregunta. Él siempre toma notas y le dice a los intérpretes, tu personaje es así, ¿deseas leer mis notas o no? Él construye los personajes desde cero en un diario y se los pasa a los actores y a las actrices. Yo le dije a Jesse, nos dice, eso responde y no solo responde, sino que es un dato de oro.
Sí.
What a great answer.
Love, o sea, increíble y la verdad, gracias por esa gran respuesta, César, puedes continuar.
Ok, un saludo a nuestro invitado. Mi pregunta es, bueno, quiero saber cómo surge esa historia, cómo surge la idea para la película, qué necesidad sentía de contar esta historia y que nos cuente también cuánto se tardó en escribir el guión.
First, what inspired you to do this movie and how long does it take? But I think this question is most from Catherine and Roman. But how long does it take to write this screenplay? And I want to ask you this because I know they had no fury is like a catchphrase, and there is a lot of movies and short films that had the same name but had different histories. What I don't know what is the beat the people are going to see when they watch your Hell Had No Fury?
There's quite a few questions there, so I'll try and start with the first one. The inspiration for doing this movie was very, very simple. I have two daughters. One of them is wanting to be a director as well. She's in London. She moved from America to London the same time that aged. I moved from London to America. It's quite funny. She's desperate to be a film director, and she had a big critique of my movies. She said they're all men movies. everything you make is about men, and you know, you need to make a movie about a strong woman. And when this script came along, it was a strong woman, but it was a very much a Jesse Johnson kind of movie that I could get my head into, and I liked it. And so I did this movie. Initially, the inspiration was something that I thought they might enjoy, and they might be a little bit more behind, so they wouldn't keep critiquing my movies. The second part of the question is the name. When we made this movie, it was called something else. It's called Ave Maria, because the lead character is Marie, and so it was Ave Marie. And when we went to sell the movie domestically, they said that title didn't sound action-packed enough. It sounded like a religious movie. It didn't give the right specifics to the film. It didn't tag the movie. So the tagline that I had for the film was "Hell hath no fury." Ave Maria, Hell hath no fury, and so they chose that title. And then the third part of the question is, how long did it take to write the screenplay? I didn't write this screenplay. This one I put a call out for screenplays. I read about 45 that was submitted to me. This one I just kept coming back to. I loved it. There was something about it. I love spaghetti westerns. I love the movies of Sergio Leone. And the fact that this was set in a cemetery reminded me of the elements of the end of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Bueno, el Feo y el Malo, you know? And that really appealed to me. And also the perspective on the film. It was written by a Frenchman, and there was something about his perspective that was fresh and different. He didn't play the Americans as the good guys. The Americans were far more complex characters in World War II to a Frenchman. You know, to us, or to an Englishman or an American, the Americans were the good guys. They came in at the last minute and saved the day. They were fantastic. To a French man, the Americans were far more difficult to decide on, because they came in very, very bloody, very heavy-handed, very bloody. They were brutal. They left a trail of destruction behind them that was almost unequal in many parts of Europe to what the Germans had done prior to that. And it's a very complex relationship. You know, when we all look back, it's the victors, and as they say, the victors write the history books. But I liked how original it felt, how different. I was very, very drawn by the fact that no one wore a white or a black cat in this movie. There were no good guys, no bad guys. They were just human beings, you know. And this is something that I find very attractive, you know. I grew up in England in the 80s when we had the IRA problems, you know, and I was part of a cadet unit, and we were indoctrinated and fed an enormous amount of propaganda to hate the Irish, to loathe them, everything about them, from the comedy that we spoke to the TV we watched to the news and the way it was talked about them. My best friends are Irish. I don't have any English friends now. You realize as you get older, we're all just humans. There's a humanity that is much, much more important than politics or nationalism or any of this horse shit, you know. And I like that, and I found it. I like movies about humans, and so on that level, it really appealed to me. I've given you too much there to have to remember. I'm sorry.
No, in fact, I want to thank you. When I translate this, I hope from the people from my country, Colombia, understand, because you know that Colombia has recently the same process that got the IRA, you know, the peace process, and they teach us to hate our people, you know, for the guerrilla wars, and it's stupid to hate all the same people for our country in the same vein. Oh man, politics are bullshit. But I will translate. An amazing answer. Chicos, van a flipar. Fueron muchas preguntas, pero iré al grano con cada una. La idea surgió porque la hija, que es directora, le dijo: papá, todas tus películas son de hombres, ¿cuándo una mujer? Cuando él leyó ese guión, que por cierto le atrajo bastante, sabemos muy bien que fue escrito por dos personas, uno de los escritores es francés, dijo: me fascina el punto de vista que tiene este escritor sobre los americanos. ¿Por qué? Dice que en la película no hay buenos y malos, o sea, son humanos en la situación más loca, inspirado un poco obviamente en El bueno, el malo y el feo, en la escena final del cementerio. Por eso toda la película transcurre en un cementerio, lo que me tiene con más ganas de verla. Y es esa cuestión de esa visión que se tiene, donde dijo, generalmente los estadounidenses son los héroes, no, acá dejan un gran halo de destrucción, no se puede decir si son buenos o malos. Y dice que la razón por la que la hizo es porque él perteneció al ejército y en los 80s lo enseñaron a odiar a los irlandeses. Y él dice, pero mis amigos son irlandeses, o sea, por el proceso del IRA. Entonces él dice que no, que la política es bullshit, es mierda, que lo importante son los seres humanos. Y yo le dije que esa respuesta espero cale pues en nuestro país, ya que así como el IRA tuvo un proceso de paz, pues acá en Colombia, aquí lo tenemos, respuestas de oro.
Wow. Yo quiero felicitarlo. Andrés, ¿tienes una pregunta?
No, yo quiero saber qué más
Bueno,
resaltar de la película.
yo quiero saber lo más importante para Jesse es cómo fue el cambio trascendental de estar la mayoría de tus roles, que obviamente son hombres, a pasar de una mujer. ¿Cómo describió él la psicología al momento de desarrollar la trama con un elenco impresionante, más con Nina Bergman, que es excelente en todos los aspectos? Y pues me gustaría saber, desde la visión como director, cómo descubrió o qué características, virtudes aprendió de aquel personaje.
Y se me olvidó lo más importante, la película se iba a llamar Ave María, pero por cuestiones de venderse dijeron que este título.
Sí.
And continuing with the important subject of a woman, how, yes, as a director, how you develop the psychology, the complexity of the character of Maria, played, of course, by the amazing Nina Bergman. Tell us.
Well, it's, it would be easy to take credit for it, but I can't. It was written very well. The male characters were written extraordinarily well, but I knew that the female character needed work. So I brought in a female writer who works with me an awful lot. When I write a script, I have Catherine, who's my writing partner, go through the female characters and add life to them, add a perspective. And we have a lot of discussions, sometimes arguments, but the characters become more real. And so it was very, very important to have Catherine work very hard on the character of Marie on this one. And then once Nina was involved, Nina worked with Catherine and really, really worked very. I stepped a little bit back, which was the smart thing to do, and watched what was going on and watched it come together. And then, I applied my pressure to that with the male characters, and we watched where it went with Nina's character. And it was it was very interesting. We shot this film almost in chronological order, which is very, very rare. Normally you're going backwards and forwards, but because this was in chronological order, there was a lot of room for improvisation, which you don't normally have. Not huge improvisation, not scenes or dialogue, but just reactions and the way that Nina reacted to them. I didn't know what was going to happen in many, many cases, where she gets, strangled at one point and thrown over. And I didn't know what the character's reaction might be in a scene like that. And when we shot it, I'd watch Nina and I'd see where it was going, and we'd encourage that. And by the second or third take, we realized what's organic to that character. And in many cases, it was the same as the script, but also in other cases, it varied away from what was written in the script and became something that I felt was more exciting.
Jhon, yo creo que después de esta respuesta tendrás que preguntar por tu actor favorito, yo sé quién es, pero ven, te comento. Dice que él podría tomar todo el crédito, pero acá le quiere dar no solo la felicitación pues a Nina, sino a Catherine, porque la co-guionista, porque increíblemente, y no sé cómo lo hizo, toda la película fue grabada, o sea, secuencial, desde el inicio, desde el inicio hasta el final, o sea, primera escena es la que tú ves, así, que es complicadísimo. Dice que a él le fascina trabajar, pues, obviamente, creando personajes masculinos. Dice que todos en la película están increíbles, pero que quiso que la perspectiva femenina de la escritora lo ayudara en esas escenas. Dice que, por ejemplo, hay escenas muy fuertes. Acá nos cuenta una donde a ella la ahorcan, y él dijo, pero ¿cómo reaccionaría yo? Entonces dijo que Nina hablara con Catherine para ver cómo se reaccionara. Entonces fue esa conversación, constante conversación entre ellas, lo que llevó a eso.
Disparo preguntándole, yo sé, yo he visto casi todas sus películas, La verdad me encanta. Obviamente, esta es la más esperada para mí en vérmela, pero obviamente yo destaco el gran trabajo no solo de Nina, Daniel, sino también de Luis Mandylor. Luis Mandylor para mí es uno de mis actores favoritos de toda la historia, para mí, y obviamente eres uno de mis directores favoritos. Tienes que decirle, Andrés, en Colombia, en Latinoamérica, aman el cine de él,
Yo lo voy a
por
decir.
supuesto que sí, lo amamos y no sé si a él le parecerá un poco, o sea, lo sabía o extraño, pero la verdad es mucho, mucho el cine que se consume y me gustaría preguntarle cómo, cómo usted desarrolla la química entre no solo los actores, sino también en esta película, que en esta película refleja la verdad, refleja un poco sobre lo real que es ser la esencia de los personajes, sino también en los actores, cómo construye un buen ambiente, más en esta película que para mí es una de las evoluciona en todo.
Okay, before the question, John asked me the favor. For me, it's an honor to tell you that. I don't know if you know that in Latin America, and mostly Hispanoamerica, of course, Spain as well, we love your movies. And we watch it on streaming services, and I know that you were here again with one of the favorite actors from John, that is Louis Mandylor, and he wants to know how do you develop the chemistry between the actors, because I don't know, sometimes you work a lot with I don't know, this actor in many projects, and they seems that you develop a good chemistry. How do you develop the chemistry of the actors, particularly in this movie? And if you can tell more about the role of Luis Mandylor in Hell Had No Fury, John will be pleased.
Well, Louis Mandylor is, I believe he's a genius. I don't know quite how his process works. He doesn't come sometimes to rehearsal. He sometimes doesn't know his lines the night before. I don't quite understand it. We talk an awful lot. We talk and talk and talk and talk on the phone about the character. And on this one, he was very scared. He didn't know this character. And he lives in Bulgaria. And we spoke for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. And I could tell he was nervous. I could tell he couldn't quite work out who this character was, where he'd come from. It was a difficult one for him. And finally, I said, he has PTSD. This character has post-traumatic disorder. In the old days, they'd call it shell shock, but it's when you lose your, and at that point, Louis understood. He said, I got it. And he didn't want to talk anymore. No more talking after that. Once he gets it, he doesn't want to talk anymore. But it took a while. I said, he fought through Sicily. He did this, he did that. I don't think I was being a very helpful director. But it was finally when I said, look, he's probably got post-traumatic stress disorder. He fought through Sicily, Naples. It was a meat grinder down there. The Allies took it. The Axis took it back. The Allies took it again. It was hell on earth for this character. And now he's turned up here at the end of the war, and he feels he's got nothing. He feels he's owed something for everything he has lost, all his friends, all his innocence, everything that he's seen. He feels he's owed money, which is how he validates what he's doing to get the gold. And as soon as Louis understood this, and it was like a penny dropping, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. He said, okay, I'm going now, bye. And that was it. And then the next time I saw him was just before we started filming, and the character was formed by then. Whatever Louis had done in the couple of weeks there, he'd formed this character. And on set, it was, it's all Louis. He creates an enormous backstory, where the guy's been. It's very, very complex, but Louis doesn't like talking about it. He doesn't want to talk about it with anyone. He doesn't really like rehearsing an awful lot until you're ready to shoot, and you call him, he comes out of the trailer and he's ready to go. He goes in that scene and he's in the moment. In this one, he's phenomenal. He breaks things, smashes things, he loses his temper. It's a very complicated character as well. And I knew if this character didn't work or was played as a bad guy, we'd have a problem with the whole movie. And the thing about Louis is I know for a fact he can play this guy who is working to the utmost of his moral convictions, except that his moral compass is off skew, and I knew that he could deliver that character because we'd done it before in Debt Collector. We'd done it to a degree in Avengement, not so much, and we'd done it in A Mercenary, and I knew it was within his abilities. And for me, it's the best. For me, it's the best role that he's played for me. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal, and but it's very difficult because people see a bad guy, but then it's only about midway through the film you realize everything he's doing is for a reason, and it's because of his belief that he's doing the right thing. Those are the most dangerous bad guys.
I don't know if you saw the face of John when you named the Debt Collector.
Right.
It's your favorite. John, ¿es tu película favorita?
Sí, tengo que decirle. La Deuda 1 y 2 me encantan. De hecho, he visto 7 veces La Deuda. Y en la primera vez, François me hizo llorar.
He has watched the Debt Collector 7 times, and the first time François made him cry. I'm glad that you named that movie, but I will translate. John, pues vas a enloquecer. Todo el personaje de Louis fue creado por teléfono y hubo un momento que él dice Jesse, yo no sé cómo él tiene esa genialidad, porque estaban hablando y te dijo, tu personaje tú sabes que todo sucede en Sicilia. No sé cómo llegaron al punto donde él le dijo, yo creo que tu personaje tiene estrés postraumático de guerra. Perfecto. Cuando se dio cuenta, él llegó al set con toda esa cuestión de estrés postraumático, o sea, creó el personaje desde cero. Él dice que no entiende, o sea, que es el mejor papel que ha hecho en su carrera, habiéndolo dirigido todas esas veces, obviamente en las películas que tú amas, pero es que el personaje se lo creó desde cero. Dijo, listo, tiene estrés postraumático. Ok, César, dale, antes de que yo muera.
Ok.
Cierra con broche oro.
Mi última pregunta es por el proceso de selección de los actores. Quiero preguntarle cómo fue este proceso. ¿Qué buscaba en específico para que los actores interpretaran al personaje? ¿O qué fue lo que le hizo decir, estos actores son los que necesito para que interpreten a los personajes?
And the question from Cesar from Mexico is, yes, how was the process to choose the characters, to say, I want this in this character, I hope this for this character? How was the casting and the process?
It was very, very simple. It was one of those magical scripts where the characters were described like people I knew. Now, here's the other side of what was going on. We're in the middle of COVID. COVID was very, very bad at this point. In Los Angeles, we weren't allowed to gather in a group of people. So I knew that whatever we did, I was going to have a group of friends. I couldn't have strangers. So I had to, the cast and crew were all people I knew or had worked with at some point. And we brought everyone together. We bubbled in the mountains, and no one was allowed to leave because of COVID. If you remember this point, it was a very serious deal. So the way that I can't, it was creepy how precisely these guys have been described and how similar they were to guys that I love to work with. There were two problems. The first was von Bruckner, the German, and literally maybe 1 week before the film got greenlit, I'd had a meeting through a friend with Daniel Bernhardt. And Daniel is one of the most charismatic, wonderful guys you've ever met. You talk with him, you don't talk for 30 minutes, you talk for 3 hours, and I knew that he spoke German, French, and English, and had this amazing look, and was looking for, to prove himself as an actor, not as a stunt actor. And it was uncanny. So I gave him a call and said, do you want to do this? And he said, absolutely, let's do it. But the funny thing was, it was a vacuum that we had that when no one was working. And 1 week afterwards, people went back to work. Daniel went to do Matrix. Tim went to do Snowpiercer. Nina was going off somewhere. Louis was going off somewhere. So we just had this little window and it was perfect. It was almost magical. With the Marie character, we had a Russian actress who'd won an award that my producers wanted to hire. And right up to about 72 hours before filming, I said, we can't keep waiting. She couldn't get out of Russia because of COVID. And so I had Nina, who's a friend of mine, who very generously did the read through with us, the rehearsal, and the cast came to me and they said, you have to hire Nina. You have to hire Nina. Each one of them came to me and said, you have to hire Nina. She's so good. And then finally, Dominic, I don't know if you guys know Dominic Vandenberg. he's a dear friend of mine. He was in the French Foreign Legion, and he's a very dangerous human being in real life. If you met him, you'd think he was a gentleman, but I know a little more about his backstory. And he stopped me as I was leaving to go to my car, and he put his finger in my chest like this and said, "You're a fucking idiot if you don't hire Nina." And then he walked off. And this is about as intimidating as Dominic can get, not purposely. And so I realized when every single one of them was saying that. And so and once she was in the role, it's impossible to think of anyone else playing the role now. She was so good.
Okay, before we show the trailer, I will translate to end this beautifully. Van a amar esto. Ir al grano, porque saben muy bien que esto se grabó con la locura del COVID, y pues creo que ahí entendieron. Por ejemplo, en el caso de Daniel Bernhardt, que saben muy bien que él está buscando dar ese salto de Stone a un gran actor, habla 3 idiomas, por cierto. Cuando él habló con él, que hablaron 3 horas, dijo, es que el papel tiene que ser tuyo, el del alemán. Pero con Nina pasó algo muy gracioso. Lo que pasa es que en Rusia no la querían dejar casi salir. Y el actor Dominic Vanderberg, que por cierto, él dice que él tiene un pasado, él es un soldado, hizo algo peligroso. Obviamente tú sabes que él ha trabajado varias veces con él, pero lo hizo a propósito. Le puso el dedo acá en la garganta. Le dijo, si no contratas a Nina, te mato. Obviamente, molestando, pero era por el hecho de saber que tenía que tenerlo, él tenía que tener la película. Dice que todo eso es un casting de sueño, pero que fue un momento peligroso porque se destapó lo del COVID, y tú sabes muy bien que Daniel tuvo que irse a Matrix y que todos tuvieron que irse a sus proyectos. Entonces, aquí lo increíble es saber que esto fue filmado en los descansos de Matrix, ¿no? Eso es lo increíble. Nada.
Un fuerte aplauso.
Un fuerte aplauso.
Sí, por favor.
And now,
Sí.
el saludo.
Sí, pero primero mostrar el trailer. Sí.
I'd love to add one more quick thing about Daniel Bernhardt. So when I first started out here and I was trying to direct, Daniel was making the martial arts movies as a lead actor, and I knew he was the lead actor. And someone said, "Oh, if you know Daniel Bernhardt, maybe you can make a martial arts movie with him." And anyway, at that point, I went back to doing stunts. Cut to whatever it is, 20 years later. And my friend is doing the action on Wolverine. Garrett Warren was the action director. And he called me up. He was near my house at a gym. He said, "Oh, come watch. We're doing previews. We're filming previews for Wolverine." And so I went over and they had 10 guys fighting. And they had one guy in the middle, a very, very good looking guy, handsome guy, doing Hugh Jackman's part, the stunt doubling for shooting the previews video. And this guy's really good, and he's very, very humble and very quiet. And I said to Garrett, "Who's that stuntman? He moves fantastically. He moves like a ballet dancer." He said, "Oh, that's Daniel Bernhardt." And I said, "Do you mean the actor?" And he said, "No, he just does stunts now. He's given up acting. He's very humble." And he was doubling Wolverine for the previews and moving like a guy half his age. I mean, he was throwing stunt guys all over the place. And beautiful and very, very easy to work with. And then when I heard that he was, maybe wanting to get back into acting a little bit, I jumped at the opportunity, because if you can be that humble and you can take your ego and put it down there, this says an awful lot. This was a guy that at one point was a star, who went through back to being a stuntman. He didn't come from being a stuntman. He was a star, went to being a stuntman, and hopefully, I think he will come back as a bigger star than before. But fingers crossed.
I will translate faster because time is running off. John, traduzco rápido. Es que lo increíble es cómo conoció a Daniel. Sabes muy bien que Daniel venía haciendo su cine y se retiró para volver a hacer Stone. Un día llegó a la grabación de Wolverine. Tú sabes muy bien que él hizo las Stones de Wolverine y él se quedó, pero venga, ese no es Daniel Bernhardt, el actor. No, él volvió a hacer Stones. Él dijo, pero es un actorazo. Dice que esa humildad de saber que no me importa volver a las Stones después de verte una carrera de actor, dijo, lo contrato y espera, y sabemos que sí, que él va a volver a lo grande. Pues con el Had No Fury Matrix. Bueno, pasemos el trailer. Sí. Time is running out, so we are going to show the trailer.
Yes.
You want to tell us where that gold is? Maybe we can all go home.
I'm doing my best to remember. I promise!
If I were you, I'd keep real still, Marie.
For them, the fighting is over. Freedom.
Ne tire pas. Je suis résistante.
Then we're going to tar and feather that girl. She begged us to help her. Promised the major buried treasure.
We don't find that gold by sundown. This will not end nicely for you.
No gold, Major.
You're the one that told us there was gold here, Marie.
Vive la France! Stay out!
They here waiting for us.
I don't know.
She's a liar. Hitler's elite guard. Think there's a chance they just pass us by?
Hell no, they're coming. We will let you live. You gotta help us kill these Nazis. You said you can shoot. The question is, can you really? If we ambush them just right, they die.
Get in position!
We won't stand a chance.
Don't you see? She's using you. One clever trickster, Marie.
Maybe we put down these guns. We all get a little piece of that gold. We got a deal?
No more deals.
Excelente. Bueno, Andrés, un saludo para Colombia, Latinoamérica, redes, que invita a ver la película. Bueno, y el saludo para...
We got the final minutes, so please, Jesse, the camera is yours. Send a big hi to the channel, to Colombia, to Mexico, to Latin America, wherever, and invite the people to watch Hell No Fury.
Well, thank you very much. And I hope that in Latin America, they find this film good. I encourage everyone in Colombia and Mexico and Venezuela, go take a look at this movie. I love that part of the world. I've visited many, many times, and it would be the biggest thing in my heart to know that you guys enjoyed this movie. I'm going to try and do films with more subject matter there now after this conversation, because I realize that you like these kind of movies, and I think I'm very complimented. I'm very touched, and I've really enjoyed this. So thank you.
Your social media, so people can follow you.
I'm on Instagram at Action Jesse B Johnson, and I think Facebook the same, Jesse B Johnson. So, or Action Jesse B Johnson. So yeah.
I want to ask you a favor. There is an actor called Boris Krestia. He was like, "Are you going to interview Jesse?" He's a legend. I hope I can work with him. But first, if you can say a big hi to Boris Krestia that he was interviewing the channel, go ahead.
Hi, Boris Krestia. Looking forward to working with you. Hopefully down the line.
Oh my God. John dijo que ojalá le gustaría trabajar con Boris y esto dice que espera después de esta película seguir haciendo de este tipo de películas, dando el salto de acción a, tú sabes, algo más de guerra. Jesse, I know that we are going to enjoy your movie because it's crazy how in the streaming service, in fact, I want to tell you, in Netflix Colombia, there are 3 movies from you. There are The Debt Collector 1 and 2 and The Avengement. We know that Savage Dog was on streaming also. I remember also Triple Threat. So we really love your movie. So we know that we are going to enjoy. And thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Oh,
Have
thank
a
you.
great day. Keep in touch, and look forward to doing this again, And I hope you enjoy the movie. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse.
Eres un grande.
Maestro, master.
It's honor, legend.
It's crazy. Debt Collector in Latin America is called La Deuda. Did you know it?
I think I've seen one. I think I've seen one cover. But yeah, that's awesome.
La Deuda. No. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All the very best.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Take care.
Hey, don't forget to follow your son, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.